Hey guys, Galactic Knight here. A while ago, I made a top 10 list of what I consider to be the best video game sequels. And while I still hold on to that opinion, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a top list of the worst video game sequels. But not only were these the worst sequels of all time, they were also ones that ruined their beloved franchises they were continuing. Not only were there bad sequels, but some of these sequels even killed the franchise they were trying to continue. Some of them become downright insulting, even on many top 10 worst games of all time. So, as you can see, I'm not going to enjoy this list. Before I get this list started, a few ground rules. Rule 1. The games have to be originally bad when it comes out. So no remasters like Silent Hill HD or GTA Definitive Edition. Second, if the games get fixed or updated later, they are lower on the list. Just because they are fixed now doesn't mean they worked back then. Third, they got to be part of the canon narrative, no spin-off. So Saints Row 2022 and Mass Effect Andromeda doesn't count. Fourth, I'm only doing games that are commercially and critically panned by critics and fans alike. So, unfortunately, I can't put Super Mario Galaxy 2 or Halo 2, even though I'm not a fan of those. Pray for me, people. Pray for me. This is the top 15 worst video game sequels of all time. Why 15? Because I gotta have some form of hope. Number 15.
Hey, what the? No.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna start this segment. I didn't get into Blizzard later in life, and honestly, recently it's a good idea not to do that nowadays. Plus, I didn't start playing Diablo 3 till I got the expansion pack on the Switch, so I never experienced any of the memes on the internet. But I can definitely see why some of the complaints from Diablo 3 and 4 can piss people off, whether filled with bugs and of course gamers having a hard time locking in. Nowadays, you can play the game with a full expansion pass, and going through dungeons to find the perfect pair of pants is now fun to do. And say now that I think about it. Number 14. You want to know what the worst part about being in a fan base is? You have to deal with the flame wars on the internet. A lot of Assassin's Creed fans debate what would be considered to be the black sheep of the franchise. Some say 3 was the worst, others say Valhalla or Syndicate. Honestly, I can name at least one good thing about each installment. But as a fan base, we all agree Unity had the roughest outing because of this.
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary... Oh my goodness!
It's funny how a SpongeBob meme can sum up everything. Yeah, left and right, people mocked the hell out of the glitches of the game. So much that Ubisoft had to add 2 free DLCs with a patch to fix everything, leaving most players in. Don't get me wrong, the game is still playable and the parkour is still fun. Not sure how they can fix story issues or not. Plus, Ubisoft isn't looking good today either. But that is a rabbit hole I do not want to get into. Number 13. Okay guys, stop me if this sounds bad. EA.
Stop!
Okay then. Back in the PS2 era, there was a successful Star Wars game called Star Wars Battlefront. There was also a sequel that was critically acclaimed. Then when EA announced they were remaking the beloved game, fans were excited. Then it came out. People were pissed, at least with the online part. But EA thought it was good enough for a sequel. It sucks so hard. All because of one word in infamy: microtransactions.
What's wrong with them?
Picture this. You have a battle royale game with various microtransactions.
Yep.
And these are low-priced items that can be unlocked with cosmetics, characters, or weapons.
That's exactly it, yes.
Then why do you make it a requirement to pay off all your hard-earned cash to level up your character in a form of gambling? I wish I was joking. This requirement was also put to Congress and was banned in other countries due to the fact that it encouraged children to gamble. And since it is an online multiplayer platform, In order to get a higher level character or gear, you have to fork over the credits. Number 12. Street Fighter V. Yeah, kind of ironic that a franchise with the best sequel of all time would have a sequel that will be one of the worst. Let me explain. Before the game was launched, some players were given a beta test to start and were greeted with by error 21007. And if you look up error 21007 on Google, it says it means the servers are down. No one thought this was a bad idea. I guess they wanted to turn this game into a competitive esports like Overwatch. There's just two problems with that. One, the game has to have a grown community to build on. And two, the game has to be working functionally, so no esports with this game. Thank God, if I tried to play that beta version in front of a crowd, I would probably faint. Number 11.
Smithies, are they booing me?
Oh boy, we are getting into the nitty and gritty. To get this out of the way, yes, this is a sequel prequel, so it counts. Plus, it's a bad prequel sequel, so it double counts. So it's on the list.
We get it!
First off, the gameplay was fun. I'm not going to lie, but the way they make you gain abilities is bad. Why would you need to authorize abilities in a video game add-on? And we come to the main reason people hate this game. The story. They made Samus from a badass bounty hunter to a whining drama queen. Plus the one-word baby being repeated over and over. After listening to that, I almost say, why don't you marry the damn baby? And the story just gets worse. Next number.
Baby.
I also might need to see a doctor about that. Number 10. You got another way to start this segment? I thought so. Final Fantasy has a ton of sequels despite being called Final Fantasy, all of which have their fans and haters. So it figures that finding a bad game in this franchise was sort of tough to tell. 10 had a few cringe scenes, but a good story. Same with 12 and 15. Final Fantasy 14 had a really rough start, with it being rebooted and becoming a big MMO seller. And 13, a lot of fans did not like 13. Much like other M, a lot of fans were mostly upset with the story and characters than the gameplay. And yeah, these are really bad characters. Even by Final Fantasy standards, these characters are unlikable, basically on their actions throughout the game. From meant to hate to meant to like, but really hate, 13.2 was worse in its own way with time travel to the end of the world. Honestly, I stopped playing after 2 hours. And then there was the Lightning Return sequel. Okay, I get that Square Enix wanted to turn Lightning into the next Cloud Strife. On the one hand, Final Fantasy was actually good and had started a fan base with a following. On the other, they did thought turning Lightning into a glorified waifu, like how the fangirls turned Cloud Strife into a emo husbando, would work. So, next number. Number 9.
Well, my eternity is ruined.
Let's try to be fair. Kingdom Hearts, like most franchises, have their rough outings, but there are some good moments in some of those outings. Not this one. For one, most of the time it's basically a repeat of the first game, but with a few tweaks. The gameplay is basically stale compared to other Kingdom Hearts games, even 358 Days. Then there's the story. I don't even know what to make of it. Apparently, Jiminy's journal is corrupted because paper has coding. So Mickey and the others create a data sword that became real. Sure. Then Jiminy's journal turns out to be real, because Skynet now exists in Kingdom Hearts. Okay, despite not knowing what the hell is going on, basically, many people of the fan base say this is the most skippable of the games, if it wasn't referenced in Kingdom Hearts 3 years later. So yeah, it's canon, and we have to suffer for it. Number 8. When growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a big trend with skateboarding and video games. And none of them were big hits than the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. Of course, I was a fan of the Underground series, My sister and I did enjoy playing Pro Skater 1 and 2 on the N64, so I did want to play Pro Skater 5 when it was announced, but I kinda outgrew the franchise, and thank God I did, cause
This sucked and you failed.
not only did this kill the Pro Skater franchise, but it felt to be unfinished at times. And it just felt like a generic skateboarding game. And I know sports games don't have much when it comes to story, but take out the bugs and glitches and you just play any Pro Skater game. Honestly, I would rather play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 just to have a skateboarding game. At least I can play those. Number 7. So, is it wrong to think Resident Evil is a little gimmicky? Usually, if done correctly, action and horror would be a good combination. Even a professional writer would tell you horror and comedy go hand in hand. Even crossovers need to be done correctly. This did not go according to plan. For one, it felt an unintentional parody when it came to the story, and the action scenes were playing off taking itself seriously. Feeling more like a B-movie more than a Resident Evil game. Just put Michael Bay on the top and it would make more sense. And then there's the gameplay. Does this look like Resident Evil? Thankfully, Capcom realized their mistakes and took the franchise back to the survival horror roots. But Knuckles said it best.
Game companies always ruin their beloved franchises.
Anyone got any Tylenol? Man, another bad sequel from Capcom. And this is from the Blue Bomber himself, Mega Man X. Let's be real, the jump from 2D to 3D for this guy was definitely not the best, especially with the gameplay. But the reason this is higher than the other sequels is the fact how wonky and repetitive the gameplay is. You name it, with the level designs of the Mavericks to the camera work. But everyone agreed the voice acting was the worst part of the game. I got it. Number 5. Okay, just a heads up, I did not put this game at number 5 just because of the name. Yeah, the Halo fanbase is kind of flip-floppy if you think about it. Pretty much after Halo Combat Evolved, the fans started to hate the sequel, then say it wasn't so bad, as being the best of the franchise. So, according to fans nowadays, Halo 5 is considered the worst of the Halo franchise. And yeah, it is. Let's see. Problem number 1, you're not playing as Master Chief all the way through. Which, if it was a spin-off or a prequel, but not a direct sequel of a game with a poster child as this. Plus, and answer me if you can, how do you make Master Chief weak? Problem number 2, the gameplay didn't feel like a Halo game. Problem number 3, the story was filled with plot holes. Yeah, and people thought the series on Paramount had plot holes. This one just felt like the writers wanted to ruin the lore. And finally, problem number 4, and the big one, is that it is so forgettable. At least with a series this memorable, I totally forgot this game even existed. So yeah, not my Halo, not my Master Chief, and not my game. Plus my friend Yokai hates this game so much that it physically hurts him playing it. And he is a very hardcore gamer and Halo fan. Think about that. Number 4.
It's no use!
Why do I torture myself? Man, what can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? The gameplay is a buggy mess, the character models are wonky at best, and the story? I gotta be honest, I actually like Silver and Shadow's story at best. Don't get me wrong, I can point out some of the plot holes, but they are better than Sonic and at least his furry ship. I also heard rumors that fans have been making versions of this game to make it more playable, but aside from that, this is still a bad sequel. I tried to play at least an hour of this, and God, I almost wanted to throw the game in the trash. Seriously, once I beat Silver's first boss fight in Sonic's story, I was ready to pass out in anger. No game has ever done that to me in years. Number 3. Ever heard of the phrase, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it? Neither did a lot of gamers. We are really going for the big ones now. When this game was announced, people were hyped as hell. The game was then delayed for years until it came out in 2011. And how did it do? I'll give you a hint. The first segment of the game has the main character take a piss in a urinal. Can't think of a better metaphor than that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, for what we got, it's pretty bad. This was definitely not what fans of the franchise wanted. From the bad level designs to the technical and buggy gameplay, pretty much the hit or miss humor. For years, this was on many worst of all time lists. On a positive note, it did hold the world record for the longest time a video game has been in development, before Beyond Good and Evil 2. I am very worried. Number 2. Imagine yourself as a kid during the N64 days. You finally beat the final boss on Banjo-Tooie, when Gruntilda says get ready for Banjo 3E. Even after Microsoft bought Rare, we saw the trailer and got excited. What we got instead was...
You lied to me! Of course I lied to you.
Yeah, a lot of fans felt like that. Yeah, Nuts and Bolts was definitely not what fans were expecting to get for a sequel. Instead of the typical 3D platformer that they were used to, they decided to do a custom kart builder simulator, which involved no combat and a lot of driving due to the game's Deus Ex Machina, making the game more tedious as the game progressed and the quality seemed to be inconsistent. So the game failed to be a sequel and to kill the franchise completely. Okay, to be fair, it was hard to put this or Duke Nukem Forever as number 2. As bad as Duke Nukem Forever got, it didn't try to mock the franchise to piss off fans. Although mocking the franchise can work, but if it is to mock the fans that love the original, then you're going to get more hate than laughs. We are seeing Banjo and Kazooie coming back in a way, whether it's being a DLC character in Smash Bros. Ultimate, or being able to play digital on Nintendo Online and Xbox Arcade. But man, who knew one bad game could ruin a reputation? The Call of Duty sequels, honestly, are very easy to mock, so why bother? Metal Gear Survive, Konami's Metal Gear game after Kojima left, and it shows. Spyro, Enter the Dragonfly, the game that spiraled the franchise. Zelda 2, just because some game is hard doesn't make it bad. Dynasty Warriors 9, just because you can have an open world doesn't mean you should. Dead Space 3, want to hate Dead Space? Just take the horror element out completely. The Fable sequels, stop trying to be modern and taken seriously. It's a comedic fantasy. Use it. Spider-Man 3. Really, you just wanted me to talk about the Wii version, didn't you? Dragon Age 2. Love origin, story, and characters? Well, we took both those out, leaving you this. Earthworm Jim 3D. Yeah, even die-hard fans never heard of this sequel. Telltale's Walking Dead final season. All the characters you helped and the choices you made all led up to...
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
And the number one worst video game sequel of all time is... Super Mario Bros. 2. I mean, how could it not be? For one, it barely has nothing to do with the original outside of the 4 main characters. Hasn't been mentioned outside of 2 unique enemies, but it wasn't even meant to be a Mario game. Say what you want about the other sequels on the list, they were meant to be legitimate sequels. They just took a totally different game just with a Mario skin. How did they get away with that? Now, some say this is the Troll 2 of video games, where this is a game that's so bad it's good. It does show complete details on what not to do for a video game sequel, and is fun studying it for future entertainment. So people would probably think it shouldn't be number 1. As a so bad it's good game, it's hilarious, but yeah, this was intentionally the worst video game sequel of all time. Was there any game I missed? Well, put it down in the comments below and tell me how you survived them. I'm Galactic Knight, and I'll see you guys next time.